Okay, guys, now we want to look at route parameters. Sometimes you may need to pass down dynamic values from your route, and in this video we are going to see how we can go about that. So there are some values that you want to pass at the end of a route like this. You can have block and you want to access the individual blocks. For example, you can have my first block and you click on it to take you to the full block so that you can read the block details. Remember what we have here in our block list. No, in where is our, okay, sorry, inside here we have some kind of body that you have your complete block that you may want to read. So the way you can access that is by clicking this link so that it can take you to that particular block. And remember that these our blocks, they have some kind of IDs to it. So if you click one, the first block, you want to capture this ID and display by this body. If you click the second one, you want to capture ID2 and display this body. So the way that one works here is we pass in this value to be dynamic. You will have a route that should have a dynamic value. So this value is changing depending on the particular block that you are on or you want to view. It can be anything. So let's jump into our code and see how we can go about that. So first we want to create a new component called how can we call our component detail block or block details. Yes, let's call it block block details dot js. Okay, this is going to be rfc rfce. Okay, perfect, that's it. And now we can have our class here. We'll just set a class name as we can call this block details. Block details. Okay, great. And then let's make this to be an h2 tag. Right, I think we can leave that like so. So let's go to our route now and see how we can access that. We go to our app and we want to access that inside here because this is already no, not create. So we have to create a new route. We create a new route for that. So this route will not be create, is going to be blocks. Yep, is going to be blocks, and then we have something like this inside a block. We want to render inside blocks. We want to render this. I'll take off this closing tag. Okay, and I will close it here like so. So this one is inside here. Now in this our blocks, to access the individual blocks, we'll have something like this, and then we'll have a dynamic value which is our ID, so that when you click on blocks, this route, it takes you to this route, and then inside this route it gets this dynamic value, just like in use params, because we want to do but use params. You see how this is implemented here. we go to the part of users, and then we access a particular user ID, which will render a particular component. You get the point? So this is the official documentation, which you can look through if you want to get more details about that. So we want to render, we are not rendering this one here. This, no. So we want to render block, sorry, capital letters, block details, and that will import it for us automatically. Perfect. So we want that when you come on this particular route, this block route, and you have some kind of ID to it, which is dynamic, it should render this component for us, right? So let's see how that is going to work. Finger crossed everything will work out well for us. There is a problem which I need to fix. Something is not happening correctly. Okay. Console, absolute part, this. Nested under this is not valid. No absolute child must start with a combination of all the parents' routes. Okay, I see. I see. There is no stuff here. There is no backslash here. So we should have it just like that. And even this, we don't need to have this here, and that should be fine. So guys, in another way, I'm showing you how to debug a code. So you check your documentation. So good, that is fine. We get everything. So let's check that particular route, which is blocks slash 123 anything. Perfect. Block details. So it brings us to block details. So when we step on that route, a particular route, this value is dynamic. So no matter the value that we put here, this page, block detail page should render. But now if we are rendering this, remember that we have so many stuff here that we want to output. I'm just going to copy one and add one more, so we have three. So we have three ID3. This is work from home by John Doe. Okay, now we have three, and there should be a way that we have to capture each particular one and display the body for us. Now, how are we going to do that? If we come here, we are going to see something like use params. So this is what we are going to use. We are going to use param to capture the individual IDs of the particular block that it wants to display here. So let's try that out. So we'll go to our block detail page, and we'll create a constant here, and this constant is going to destructure something from use params that will be imported for us automatically. Good. So what do we want to destructure there? We want to destructure some kind of ID, because you see in here our route dynamic value is an ID. So we want to get some kind of ID from the route. So these params will be responsible for extracting the ID from the route. And then for now, let's see how we can just the ID for my block is Let's just try to display the value here and see how that will work. So we want to check if we can capture the individual IDs. Okay, you look at this, it captures this ID that we put in the route. So let's change this to 2, and we see it captures the 2 ID. So now whatever value we pass in our param, in our route, this use param is going to capture it, and then it passes it to some kind of function that is going to display the particular route for us that we want. But now let's add some more things for this video. Let's go back to our where is our block list? Okay, let's add some links to this our H2 and P tag, so that when you click on it, it captures the particular ID of the post and display the ID to us here. So we are going to add a link tag. Link is coming from link. React router DOM. Okay, that's it. We got our link. So we'll wrap this inside here. Perfect. So this is going to be some kind of link now. And then in this link, we want to capture some kind of value here. Which value should we put? So we have something like 2. Remember, we saw this before. Instead of using, since this is going to be a dynamic value, instead of using single quote, we are using these curly braces. And now we are going to use some kind of JavaScript inside here. We'll use our backticks. In this our backticks, we are going to have, so we want that when you click on this, it should take you to this location, to blocks, because this is block that we have here, blocks, and then now this dynamic ID. So where are we? Okay, yeah, now post it, and then for us to have the dynamic ID which is changing, we'll do something like this, and then we are taking the ID from our block. We have access to our ID from our block here. So we have this block.id, which will capture the particular ID for us, and then we can display the ID inside here. So let's try that out and see how it works. So let's go back to home. Okay, you see now the link is working because of this underlying link. So let's take the second one, click to, you see it captures the ID for us. So we are on the second post. Let's go back and click the first. It captures the ID for us. You see that params. This is coming from here, this 2. So it is taking us to this route, and this value here is dynamic, it's changing. So when it takes us to this route, we jump on this particular route, we render this block details. When we render this block details, use params captures ID from our route, and then we see the particular ID of the post that we are on here. Click the third one and we get this ID number 3. So guys, that's it for this session. We'll continue in our next tutorial.